I just got the brand new Xtool P3, and the one thing that I have to do now is determine new cut settings and engrave settings for all the materials that I want to cut and engrave. The greatest part about this is that Xtool and the Xtool software make it super easy for anyone to figure out what good settings you should be using with the material that you're going to be cutting and or engraving. For today's project, I'm going to show you how we can figure out our own cut and engrave settings for natural thin leather. It's almost Christmas time. I just decorated my house, and now I need to make some leather stocking tags for my stockings. Now, I already did tell you I don't know the settings that I need to use for my Xtool P3, so I've decided to use this as a learning tool so I can help you best determine what settings you should be using. Again, the reason why I love the Xtool and the Xtool software is because it does not matter if you're going to be using the Xtool P3, P2S, F1, or any other machine that the Xtool offers. Everything that I'm going to show you how to do today, you can do on your Xtool machine. So before we do anything more, what I want to do is head over into the Xtool software and show you how we get the best setting tests for the material that I'm going to be using today. Now, Xtool just came out with a brand new software called Xtool Studio. If you previously used Xtool Creative Space, it's pretty much the same exact thing. There are some additional features with Xtool Studio, but again, it all runs pretty much the same. So what you want to do is come over here and press New Project. I am just going to stick over here with my Xtool P3. However, if you have a different laser, what I want you to do is click over here on the lasers and pick whichever laser it is that you are going to be using for today's project. Again, doesn't matter what laser you use for today's project. The next steps, you're going to do the same exact thing as me, only for your particular machine. All right, so when I'm determining my new settings for my new material that I have, what I love to do is I love to come over here into the shapes button, and I like to do a star. The reason why I like to do a star is because there's a lot of different points and angles that a circle or a square doesn't give you. And so you're going to be able to figure out how good the cut settings are and how wonderful the engrave will look like in those small little tight corners. So all you want to do is just create any size shape. Doesn't really matter which size shape or even if it looks good. You just want to put a shape on your screen. Now I'm going to be doing two things for this, a cut and then an engrave. So what I want to do is take my star and copy and paste. Command C, Command V if you're on your keyboard, or you could have just right clicked and pressed copy and paste. Also would like to know all the keyboard shortcuts are over here on the right. So if you didn't know any of the keyboard shortcuts, you can revisit them right here, which I love. So let's work on the very first one real quick. I'm going to drag that other one over to the right while we work on this one. This one, I'm going to come over here. It's automatically already set to a score. Now, if you want to determine what good settings for your score, engrave, and cut are, then you would want 3 stars here. However, I actually never use the score button. Like, it is very rare that I actually do the score. So what I'm going to do is come over here and press engrave. For this star right here, what I want to do is come over here and press cut. We want to know what good cut engrave settings we're using and also cut settings for today's leather tags. Now, before we do anything more, what I want to do is select the material that I'm going to be using for today's project. The reason for that is oftentimes the Xtool program already has your ideal settings logged into the software. So what I'm going to do is come up here into unknown material, and I am going to, because I'm doing leather, I'm going to come over here to press leather. And then we're just going to find one, I don't know, something that's pretty similar to what you have going on here. I have deep brown, top grain, high leather. I am going to be using leather for today's project. Now, there are 2 different types of leather. You have a PU leather and then an actual leather. I'm going to do actual leather because that's what my actual material is leather. This PU leather, I believe, is like not the real stuff. And this stuff right here, both of what I have a thicker piece of leather and a thinner piece of leather. It's actual natural leather, not the fake stuff. That being said, if you have 2 different thicknesses of material, like I said, I have a thin piece of leather and a thicker piece of leather, you are going to have to do these types of test grids for both types of thicknesses. And this, my friends, is the reason why I do not like giving out my settings when I do any type of laser project, because all thicknesses of your materials will then change your laser cut and engrave settings. That is why I just don't like giving out my settings, because I'm not entirely sure. If you are using the same exact material as me, then yeah, my settings are probably going to be the same as yours. However, if you accidentally get something that's just a little bit thicker than the one that I'm using, or even a little bit thinner, chances are your settings won't be the same as mine. So this is why I always suggest that we do test grid materials on everything that you process. So I'm going to stick with this top grain cow leather. If you're doing wood, you would come to wood and choose the one that's closest to the item that you're using. Plastic, same thing, okay? All you want to do is press apply on your keyboard. And so now what you want to do is, we're going to make this super easy, and the Xtool software makes it super easy by clicking on this engraved star. What I want you to do is come down here to applications. Now, the one thing that we want to click is going to be this button right here that says Material Test Array. They make it super easy for us just to figure out some really quick and easy settings. So for this, if you want to do more test settings than what we have here, all you would need to do is increase your rows and your columns. By increasing that, you're going to get more opportunities for more settings and hone in really good on your settings. The lesser amount, if you do this, you only are going to have options of 12 different setting types, and there is a lot of different settings that you can possibly choose from. So what I like to do is go up here and do 6x6. I feel like that is a pretty good idea of what my settings I should be using for my materials. I haven't really necessarily needed more than that, but you definitely could. You could increase this 10x10 if you wanted to. Now, the other things that we have here, like this is going to be for power. So we have max power and the least amount of power. And then over here on speed, we have the max speed and the least amount of speed. To be honest with you, I never actually touch that. I just touch these right here, whether you want 10, 10x10, 6x6, anything. Remember, I like to stick with 6x6. Don't do anything less than that. But you know what? For today, I'm just going to show you that I'm going to do a 10x10, okay? Once you're happy with that, what I want you to do is press done. All right, we are going to do the same exact thing for the cut. So we're going to come over here to this cut. And then the cool thing about the software is we went over here to the applications spot and click this test grid. Now with the software, you don't even have to do that. You can just come over here to this start test grid and that box is going to pop up. That's how amazing this is. So I'm going to come over here again and I'm going to do 10x10 just because that's what I did for the last one. I like to keep things even, Steven. All right, when you're happy with this, all you want to do is press done. Now, when you do these material test arrays, what I want you to do is make sure, and to be honest with you, we should probably be keeping an eye on our machines all the time, but some people like to keep their guard down and just walk away from their machines. I never suggest that. And I really don't suggest that when we do these material test arrays. The reason for that is that's a high possible chance that we are going to be using a setting that is way too high and strong and powerful for the material that you're going to be using. If that's the case, the chances of a fire just get you even greater of a chance. Now, I have never had a fire in my craft room. I don't like saying that, but I want you to know if this is your very first laser, that laser does equal fire. So just be mindful, keep an eye on your laser. Now, I never suggest doing your material test array this large. This right here is 12.5 inches by about 13 inches. That would waste a lot of material. So what I always suggest is making these smaller. You don't need them to be that big. If you've watched any of my previous Xtool videos, you do know that when I make these material test arrays, that I make them not that small because girlfriend does not like wasting any type of material. So we are going to do this for both of these, the thicker one and the thinner one, okay? But we're going to put them in to the Xtool at separate times, okay? So what we want to do now is we want to turn on our Xtool. Doesn't matter which Xtool you have, you want to turn it on. I actually have to vent out of my window with my Xtool P3, so I have to set up the venting system. Once we have the Xtool turned on, then what we want to do is place in our material. And I'll show you how we do that with the Xtool P3. It's pretty cool and really automatic. Okay, so with your Xtool turned on, what you want to do is open up the lid to your Xtool. Now, the Xtool P3 is very automated. So all you have to do is place in the material that you're going to be using. Now you want to make sure that the light on the top of your lid turns green. When that happens, what you want to do is just shut the lid in a fluid motion. The Xtool is going to automatically detect my material and do an auto measure. It's going to do another little auto measure, and then we're ready to go. So over at my Xtool software, what I want to do is make sure I'm connected. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make sure I'm connected to my device. We're already connected. And unfortunately, because I wasn't connected to my machine before I did that auto measure, I'm going to have to do it all over again. So opening the lid, we're going to place down our material. We're going to take our arms out and we're going to wait for the light at the top of your lid to turn green. Then we are going to shut the lid. Now it's going to do the auto measure again. You can see right here it says auto measuring. The machine is going to auto lift. It's going to do a few adjustments, and now we are ready to go. And over at our machine looks exactly like what it does our software looks exactly like what it does on the machine. So what I'm going to do is put these pieces onto my piece of material. Now, if you have an Xtool P2S, what you would need to do is do an auto measure, take a picture, and do all of that. But the setting up the test grid is all the same for everyone. The reason why I love the Xtool P3 so much is everything is automated. So all of that measuring and stuff like that, I don't have to do that anymore. Now, if you wanted to make this smaller, you definitely could. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller just so I can conserve on space. And I'm actually gonna put it near my little thing that's right here. Just so in the future, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this out and I'll have this little sample material for next time, okay? So everything is already set up. We don't have to do anything more outside of making sure that our cuts and engraves are gonna be on our material, which it is. All we have to do now is press process. It's that easy. So at this point in time, what the machine is going to tell me to do is it is going to say that it's going to give me an estimated time. I need to make sure that my exhaust is turned on, which it is. It's going to take about 26 minutes to get this test grid done. But the great part about this, I know that a lot of people gripe about trying to do this and it's the time that gets wasted here. But the best part about this is I'm going to know exactly what good settings for cutting and engraving I'm going to have. So I don't have to waste on any materials later, okay? So now at this point, what you want to do is press start on your software. And you want to press OK process. And now going over into the Xtool, what you want to do is first turn on your exhaust fan. And now we're going to press the happy button at the top of the machine. One of the coolest things I love about the P3 is you can actually see what is going on inside of the machine while it's running. So we have a front view, and then you can see it's actually engraving something right now. You see that? So cool. And then we also have a side view. I love this thing. If you wanted to disable the monitoring, you could, but you can see that we got a little bit of engravings going on. So you just want to make sure and monitor this thing, but I love that we have all these options. It is so cool. All right, so this bad boy is finished. So I'm just going to turn off my fan and we can open the lid. And this is what your finished product is going to look like. Now, There's going to be some bad cuts, there's going to be some bad engraves. So what we have to do is determine which is going to be the best settings that we want to use. Okay, obviously these ones right here for the cut we are not going to use because nothing got cut out. However, everything that's over here we're going to be able to use. Now when it comes to the engraving, the stuff that's right here I would not want to use because there's nothing that is engraved. Let me get a paintbrush and I'm just going to knock off this extra stuff because there's too much extra things going on here. I'm just going to take a bristle brush, like a thick one, and just rub off this residue. Now that we have the excess wiped off, you're going to see that some of these on the top, besides the very right, is not going to be good. Some of these on the very bottom, the engraving was so, the power and the speed was so slow and too much that we went all the way through. So somewhere in the middle, probably around here is where I would like to go. I guess it just depends on your likenesses, but I like these two right here. And then I'm just going to probably pick my fastest one, like least amount of speed, least amount of power, fastest one over here as possible. And this one I'm going to stay over here in the middle, okay? So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to trim off the excess. And if you wanted to do the thicker one, you totally could do the thicker one. But we are going to do the same thing as what we did before, but now we are going to cut those tags out because I do want to cut some tags. So I'm going to place this into my Xtool, wait for the machine light to turn green, and then close the door. Over at the Xtool Studio software, what I'm going to do is press finish on my, I'm going to press finish on my software. I am going to take these and just drag these up here. You can delete them if you want or just keep them. As long as they are outside of your working rectangle, then you don't really have to do much. Okay, so what I want to do is create a tag. Let's come down here into shapes and see if they have a tag in their software. So just put in tag, and I didn't see one. We'll go over here into basic and see if they have something that looks like a tag. No tag. Now let's come over here into templates and let's put in tag and templates and press return. Now the one thing I love about the Xtool Studio software is that there is a bunch of different templates that you can use. So these ones with the crown, those are going to be the ones that you have to pay for. The ones that don't have it are going to be the ones that are free. There is a ton of free projects. So let me click this one right here just to view it. I love this tag and it is free, so I am just going to press open. Now I want this to open up on my current project. So I'm just going to click on my current project and it's going to automatically be brought in. Now I want to zoom in on this because I actually don't want from Santa Claus. I want this to be stocking tags for every single one of my family members. So what I'm going to do is right click and press ungroup. And I am going to take, let's see here, take these letters. And I'm going to delete them because I don't want them, and I'm going to bring my engraving back up because I do want to keep that engraving with my tag. I love that. Okay, but now what I want to do is put in our names. So what I'm going to do is come over here to do text, and I'm going to click anywhere on your screen, and I am going to do our names. I'm going to start with Dad first. We're going to put this in the center. Now we're going to come up here and press this text. We're going to find a text that you want to use. Now you can have recent ones right here. They have a bunch of different fonts that you can choose from. And also if you wanted to, you could upload your own font. And you know, it is kind of hard to see what your font looks like right now. So what I'm going to do is just click one. And then I'm going to come over here and press Engrave. Okay, now we can totally see what it looks like. So we'll come back here and we'll choose a better font. Okay, I like that. So I'm just going to take this. Make sure it's nice and center on my tag, which it is. Okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy and paste. I have to make 3 more of these tags. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure and hug my material just so we conserve on material. And then I just went and made these bigger just so I can see what I'm doing, because the reason why I'm keeping them is because you can hardly see what all got scored and engraved. And so I kind of need these test settings right here down here on the left and right, just so I can better understand what it is that my settings are. Okay, so let's come over here. This right here is cut. That is going to be the actual tags cut out with that circle. And I need to set the material settings up. So the best settings that I have determined for cutting, we're gonna do 300 speed and 30 power. So we're gonna change this over to 30 power, and then our speed is going to be 300. All right. We have, because the reason why that we're going to do 300 is I'm 3 over on here. So 1, 2, 3. And then the power down at the bottom is 30. So that's the one I want to use. Okay, now coming over here into the Engrave, what I'm going to do is click on this Engrave. And now I'm going to look back at my test grids, and I am going to determine that the one that I want to use is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 over, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it's going to be down 1, 2, 3, 4, down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 672 speed by 50 power. So 672 speed by 50 power. All right. Now we have everything set up the way that it should. Our Engrave is engraving like we want it to. And then we have our cutting the way it needs to, and everything is on my material. Now what we want to do is press process. It's going to give us an estimated time of 11 minutes and 55 seconds. Now what we want to do is press start. And then over at your machine, what you want to do is make sure and turn your air on. And then we are going to press the half button at the top of the machine and let the machine do its cut and engrave. All right, now that it's done, you just want to turn off your fan so it's not so loud in here and open up that lid. Now the final tags are going to look like this, but my particular leather has this like masking tape on it. So what you want to do is take that masking tape and peel it right off. Just like this. They look a little dirty and gross right now, but the masking tape helps protect it from all of that soot. Okay, so this is going to be the after, and this is going to be the before. A huge difference. This is why I love using masking tape for my type of these types of projects, just because there's not any type of cleanup. You just have to remove the tape, and all that nasty grossness just goes away. And that's it. Look at that. How cool. And this is why I love my laser cutter so much, is because I have some really cool personalized real leather tags that all I have to do is take some string, tie it on, hang it on my stockings, and that is it. These things right here can sell for a ton of money, but I'm not selling them. I'm just going to decorate for the holiday season. I sure hope that I was able to help you in trying to find the best settings for your material. Remember what I said, you can use this with any type of laser and any type of material that you are going to be using for your projects. I'll see you on the next one.